読み直している。で読み直している。だけがで読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。でキスしたい人。で読み直している。で読み直している。だけがで読み直している。で読み直している。
morning, good morning, oh shit, my mic. This thing can't ever get in the right spot. Yeah, if you ever tune in live, you get to see me adjust the boom arm stand for my mic every single time. Right at the beginning. Oh, good morning. I'm 18 minutes late. That is my fault. Let me tell you what happened. Thanksgiving happened. Happy belated Thanksgiving. I had a 4-day weekend. I was able to keep Thursday and Friday clear of any works, any going out to jobs. I did some work from home, but I was able to keep my weekend free, and it was extra long, and it was very, very nice. We had I had a total of 5 Thanksgiving dinners between divorced parents and girlfriend parents and friends. I'm very blessed. I had tons of delicious food. I made some delicious tomato aspic. It's a Kelly tradition. It's delicious. Tastes like Bloody Marys, I guess. We played poker. I played video games. I did some work from home, and I finished this book. So I had a really long, enjoyable weekend. I stayed up a little later than normal on a couple nights, but you know what? When last night, when 8 o'clock rolled around, I knew it's time to go to bed. It's time to restart. Time to get back to work. And I went to bed at 9. And my alarm went off at 5:30, and I could not get out of bed. I could not get out of bed. Rolled around to like 6:30, and then my girlfriend gets home from work at 7ish. She got home at 6:30 this morning, and so then we laid down for a minute, and I had decided that I was going to stay home and work out after work today. And while I was saying that in my head, as I kept hitting snooze on my alarm, I heard Goggins in my head. I heard Rogan in my head. I heard Cam Hanes in my head. I heard Ryan Holiday in my head. All these mother effers. Conquer your inner bitch. Conquer the morning. Start your week off right. No excuses. Nobody cares. So I got up and I went to the gym, and I was late to the gym, and I still got a great workout in, and then I was late to the podcast. So that's why we're starting 20 minutes late. So forgive me. But doesn't look like anybody's here right now, so I don't give a fuck. If you're listening to this not on Monday at 8:20 a.m., November 29th, then I invite you to join me early to get your Monday mornings started off right. That's one reason why I wanted to do this podcast, is because I first called it Monday Morning Motivation, and it was supposed to be a way to get your week started off on the right foot, to be ready to go to work, to work out, to have a great week. So it was Monday Morning Motivation, and that's why I'm here. And 8 o'clock is early. Most motherfuckers are still sleeping. Or they're already at work, or they're on their way to work, or they're late to work, or they're taking kids to school. So whatever, I don't fucking care if you actually come. But if you listen at all, this is my Monday morning motivation, and I'm streaming it to the world. So anyone who's looking for some morning motivation can get it. And you always get to enjoy a fresh cup of coffee with me. How fresh is a Keurig coffee anyway? The coffee pods. How fresh are those? I mean, it's ground coffee in a little cup, right? And then it's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty fresh. I want to get into making real cups. Well, I used to. I have a French press, and I have coffee grinder and all of that, but Takes a little more work. For what? At what cost? I save. I get to. Everything is done with the push of a button with the Keurig. It's a beautiful invention. All right, enough of the bullshit. This last week, I read The Comfort Crisis with Michael Easter, who apparently is some fuckboy out of Las Vegas. He's a very attractive man. Oh my God. Tell me about it. Yes, Michael Easter. Michael Easter is a contributing editor at Men's Health magazine. See? Men's Health, columnist for Outside magazine. And, oh, I didn't know this, professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. His work has appeared in more than 60 countries and can be found in Men's Journal, New York, Vice. Oh, Men's Journal, New York, Vice, Scientific American, Esquire, and others. He lives in Las Vegas, on the edge of the desert with his wife and their 2 dogs. Yeah, and he narrated the. You know what? He narrated the book, and he has like a nasally-ish kind of voice. I don't even want to try to imitate it. I was kind of like this. It's not that bad. That was a terrible impersonation. I'm mean to the narrators, man. I'm mean to all of the people that read. But anyway, this is his book, The Comfort Crisis. Embrace discomfort to reclaim your wild, happy, healthy self. Remember that, because I had some thoughts to the contrary. Embrace discomfort to reclaim your wild, happy, healthy self. I found this book from the recommended list under the Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century from Brett Weinstein and Heather Hang, or Hang. I can't remember how to say her name. My mom asked me how I find all of my books, and I told her I usually listen to them on a podcast before I read their book. Like, that's how I found Brett Weinstein, Heather Hang's book. Or it's just popularly circulating, it's popular, or someone recommends it to me. But this one I found through just a recommended list. And the title is what got me. It's The Comfort Crisis, and that's exactly what a lot of my dialogue is about. How humans are becoming soft because of our comforts, and this book talks about the crisis therein, and it was an excellent read, and it was right in the same ballpark of what I'm already talking about. So, yeah, actually, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience in May, and I listened to the podcast, and I don't even remember one thing about it. I don't remember him or him talking about this book, because this book was written. He talks about COVID in it, so yeah, copyright 2021. I don't know, so probably around May when he was on JRE. So, I imagine I heard about it from the podcast, but I don't remember him or the book or the episode at all. All right. So, The Comfort Crisis. It's broken up into 5 parts. And there are 21 chapters, but it was like an 8 or 9 hour audiobook. Man, I want this coffee. Oh, God, it's so good. Okay. Part 1. There's 5 parts. Rule 1, make it really hard, and Rule 2, don't die. That's part 1. Part 2, rediscover boredom. Ideally outside for minutes, hours, and days. Rediscover boredom, part 2. Part 3, feel hunger. Part 4, think about your death every day. Part 5, carry the load. And we've talked about all of these points before, and I thought I had to while I was reading this book. Was I feel like I'm making some groundbreaking discoveries doing this podcast, and I write every day, and I think about all of the morals from these books and these podcasts, and I think I come up with these original ideas, and then sure enough, someone's already written a book about all of them. There's some points that come up that. So hey, just note to self, and a reminder: almost nothing you do is original. Someone is either doing it already and is making money doing it as a professional, or they've written a book about it. So, or they've written a book. Don't get your hopes up, but enjoy it anyway. You're in good company. So the story of the book runs along an anecdote, because antidote is like the solution to an illness, but an anecdote is a story. The anecdote is his journey to the Alaskan frontier, caribou hunting with, I think his name is Donnie Vincent. He only ever calls him Donnie in the book, but I'm pretty sure after I did a little bit of Googling, Donnie Vincent is the guy, and he's just some extraordinary hunter who does these incredible excursions. And Michael is a journalist, writes for Men's Health and does these other things we've already talked about, that I already said, and interviewed Donnie. And Donnie said, come with me on this hunt, and I will show you what my life is like as a hunter. So all of these points run parallel to his story of his experience in Alaska. So let's talk about each part like we do. I just run through all my fucking notes. And I will say this too. With Thanksgiving last week, I tried to finish it before Thanksgiving, finish the book. I did not finish it. I got like 3/4 of the way. And I learned some really cool lessons from the book that when I post finishing, I changed some of my habits. Anyway, I'll talk about them as we come, but this was a great book. So here's part 1. Rule 1, make it hard. Rule 2, don't die. I'm going to skip lots of the notes to talk about what that means. These are rules for an experience called misogi. He talks about a person that he met. It's not Donnie the hunter. He talks about another person that he interviewed who teaches misogi. I think it's MYSOGI. And I'm going to do a quick Google search to tell you if. Okay, it's M. Oh no, that's misogynist. MISOGI. Misogi is a Japanese Shinto practice of ritual purification by washing the entire body. Misogi is related to another Shinto purification ritual called HARAE, hooray, thus both being collectively referred to as Misogi hooray. Hooray. So it's a Japanese practice, and to experience misogi basically means, from what he talks about in the book, is to push yourself to far beyond your limits, far beyond your capabilities. Wherever you think your line of capability is, push yourself way beyond it. And this guy that he interviewed, his example was, he was some ultra marathon runner, and the way he experiences misogi is, at one time he ran. His goal was to run from the Grand Canyon rim to rim, like 5 times or 6 times or something, just some outrageous goal. And I think he said he got back and forth twice, and then something happened with his knees or his shin. Anyway, he had to stop. But he didn't fail Misogi because he didn't do it 5 times. The point is he pushed himself to his breaking point. He was in pain and whatever. So I don't know if that's what this pure Misogi is according to this ancient Japanese practice, but that's what they call it in the book. This is misogidogi.com. Misogi Dogi. Misogi is an ancient Japanese practice that is focused on purification. Its purpose is to cleanse you of all accumulated defilements. By doing so, you can reestablish a harmonious relationship with yourself and everything around you. Yeah. Anyway, so his rule for Misogi was there were 2 rules: make it hard and don't die. There you go. So that's I think he brings that up. That was the point why he went on this Alaskan excursion. This was something he had never done before. Michael was never a hunter, and he had given himself a few months to do something really hard, and his goal the whole time was to not die. Okay. So here's some notes that I made from part 1. Most discomforts protect us from physical and psychological problems. Okay, that has no context. That's just a note that I made. Here's a quote I took from the book. We don't have to deal with the discomforts like working for our food, moving hard and heavy each day, feeling deep hunger, and being exposed to the elements. We do deal with long-term physical and mental health problems. Yeah, our ancestors. This is another reason why I love this book, and I think it's why I found it under the 21st, the hunter-gatherer book that I read, because a lot of it is about ancient primal behaviors and habits. So our ancestors. It's kind of interesting to think. So listen to this. Hear me out. Our ancestors were gritty, tough motherfuckers. They lived out in the dirt all of the time, and they had to constantly be aware of things trying to eat them or the weather trying to kill them or freeze them or boil them or floods or mountains falling down or trees falling. Life was fucking hard, and lots of people died all the time. But that means our ancestors, all the ones that survived, were the toughest of the tough, because you couldn't be a pussy ass bitch. To be a hunter gatherer, you really had to be a contributing member to your tribe, to your community, and you had to weather all of the storms, all of the ailments that befell our ancestors. So that means all of our ancestors were tough. Now we live in a world where a lot of those trials don't happen. We don't experience them. We don't have to worry about animals eating us every day, and we don't have to worry about that's what this quote. We don't have to worry about deep hunger. We don't have to deal with I'm going to read it again. We don't have to deal with the discomforts like working for our food, moving hard and heavy each day, feeling deep hunger, and being exposed to the elements. We've created a culture, a world where everything is handed to us on a silver platter, and it's made us incredibly soft. So he says now we do deal with long-term physical and mental health problems. So part of Misogi is to make you tough. You do something really, really hard, something that's not going to kill you, but something that's really, really hard because it makes you tough. This idea of what was the terminology? I just read it from the Google. It's like it's not purification. Rites of passage. I didn't mention it, but rites of passage. The part of Misogi traditionally is this culture of rites of passage from when a boy becomes a man or a girl becomes a woman. He explains lots of cultures that underwent serious trials. They put their kids through serious trials to turn them into men. There was one example that he talks about that's fresh on my brain is some tribe somewhere sends their boys out into to wherever lions are, and sends them out with crude tools, crude weapons like spears and sticks and rocks, and sends them out to kill a lion, to kill a fucking lion. These boys, however old they are, maybe 16, maybe 18, maybe 21, I don't know. But they send a group of these boys out to kill a lion, and if they kill the lion, then they come home with the lion and they become a man. It's their rite of passage, something really hard and really scary. And he says in this tribe, a lot of these boys die. A lot of these boys die trying to kill a lion. This is one example of, I'm sure, many, and maybe this isn't morally or ethically correct, whatever. That's one way of that's how humans have raised their kids. It's through these rites of passage. I think about a story that's not true, or maybe it's partially true, and maybe this person was real, but I think of Vikings, the TV show Vikings from the History Channel, where Ragnar has this son. Oh, what was his son's name? I could see his face in the TV show. Hold on. I'm going to Google this one too. Ragnar's son. Any of you who have watched the show know where I'm going, though. Bjorn. Yeah, Bjorn Ironside. So, Ragnar has his son Bjorn. It's his oldest son. He loves his son, but he wants to turn him into a man. And so his without even without even saying anything to his son decides that I want to earn your respect. I want to become a man. I'm leaving you and I'm leaving our town to go become a man. So he just goes out into the wilderness, and you see I don't know how long he was gone. But he kills bears, and he killed a bear barely while he was drunk, and whatever. Just lived out in the wilderness, almost dies, but he comes home and he's strong. Okay, that's a dumb example. I shouldn't have said that example. But this idea of rites of passage, there are no rites of passage anymore. At least in our culture, there's no rites of passage. We just grow up and we graduate high school, or we fail high school, and then we stay at our parents' home, or we go to college, or some of us go on Mormon missions, or whatever we're doing. But we're not tough. We're not tough anymore. And some of us do hard things, but I still don't even think. I think like 2% of the world's population is actually tough. And maybe less than 1% of the American population is as tough as our ancestors. Because our ancestors lived in the rain. When it's raining outside, we get to sit underneath our house all the time in air conditioning or heat or whatever. And yeah, okay, maybe they had some kind of shelter. Maybe our ancestors have always had some kind of shelter. But there's a reason they built houses, or they wanted to build houses, because it protected them from the elements. But there were a lot of years before there was electricity, before there was plumbing, and a lot of people died. That's all I'm going to say. People shouldn't die. No one should subject anyone else to die. And that's it. And there's no but. People shouldn't subject others to die. All I'm saying is our comforts today have made us very soft. That's part one. So if you want to be tough, like our ancestors, do hard things and put yourself out in hard places, and don't die, but go do something hard. Do something really fucking hard. And that goes back to one of the earlier podcasts talking about an episode of a podcast that I listened to. That it's been so long since I've listened to these guys. I don't even remember their names, but they talk about doing hard shit, because doing hard shit makes you tough. And that's what Joe Rogan and that's what David Goggins and Cam Hanes were saying in my brain this morning when I was laying under my covers. I was trying to sleep, trying to go back to sleep after my alarm went off, is go do something hard. Get the fuck out of bed. And then I heard Ryan Holiday talk about the Stoics saying what Marcus Aurelius saying, were we made to stay under the covers and be warm? No, we were made to work. We were born to work. So get out of bed and go do something. All right. And you know what? I'm not, when I talk about less than 1% being tough like our ancestors, that is certainly not me. I still enjoy all of the comforts. I don't push myself that fucking hard. And I want to. I want to get there. I want to go out into the wilderness, and I've done the Boy Scout camps like that. I've had tough experiences, but Jesus Christ, not even close to that. Like, I still warm my truck up before I get in to go to the gym. I'm in an air conditioned gym, and then I come home. I put a hoodie on and I sit in my basement and I talk to nobody on a camera. I mean, and I drink coffee that came out of a Keurig. It was so easy to make. And we have supermarkets. We have hospitals, and I mean, how soft are we? How soft are we? But then again, here's the contradictory point, contradicting point that I have, that I think of, is why wouldn't we want these things? Why wouldn't we want the things that make our life easier, or that make life more pleasant or comfortable? If after all everything our ancestors have accomplished was to make our lives better, why would we not relish in the fact that we have houses and air conditioning and electricity and this and that? And I think we do. So I'm kind of spoiling my post-book thoughts, but I think we do celebrate them, and we need to, and we can't get rid of them. And now we have to figure out how we can keep them without destroying the planet. But regardless, we have them, and we enjoy them, and they keep people alive longer. They keep us healthier and happier, and they also have their downside. Just like he says, we do deal with long-term physical and mental health problems. We have these things. We definitely abuse them. We should still be gritty. We should still learn how to be tough. Why? Not because of this. Not because there's really no other reason to do hard things other than to learn how to be tough. Like I've heard it before, and I don't know if I've ever said it here, but I heard a saying that goes, tough times make tough men. Tough men make easy times. Easy times make soft men, and soft men make hard times. Right now, I think we're in the soft men transitioning into hard times. I think hard times are ahead of us. If that cycle holds up, it's consistent, I think we're in for hard times, because I don't know if there's ever been a time where humans have been softer. We're soft as fuck. All of us. We all are, to some extent. Some are softer than others, literally and metaphorically. It's good to do hard things. It's good to do hard things because it teaches you how to be tough. And when you're tough, you can handle hard things better. To live is to suffer, and to live well is to suffer well. Someone said that suffering is a choice, and I've meditated on that idea, and I'm starting to agree that suffering is a choice. Affliction is not a choice. We can't control our circumstances all the time, but we can almost always control our reaction to affliction. And if we react poorly to affliction, we suffer. And there we go. Wow. Yeah, that's part one, pretty much. That's pretty much the whole book. Life is hard, and there's lots of hard shit, and we've made things so easy for ourselves. So let's talk about what else is easy. What else we've done that's made our lives easy. I'm going to finish these thoughts from part one, though. Misogi asks, what are you mentally and spiritually willing to put yourself through to be a better human? That's an excellent question to ask yourself. In chapter 9, I said, the world today fills us with distractions because we don't want to be bored. Being bored is not bad or evil. Solitude exposes your raw thoughts, who you are at your core. It is uncomfortable, Part of the reason suicide rates have increased, and this is just me speculating, of course, because I have no idea, is the prevalence of distractions like social media that keeps us from knowing who we are individually. Yeah. Yep. I don't know why I said suicide rates specifically, but maybe you can just say depression or anxiety has skyrocketed because we null our senses of self through distractions of social media, of food, of porn, of shopping, of video games. We distract ourselves with all of the stimuli because it feels good, because no one wants to be uncomfortable, because that's a basic human trait. Uncomfortable being meditating is not very comfortable. Doing hot yoga, especially before you meditate, is not comfortable. But learning how to do the hard things and then learning how to get into a relaxed state and being comfortable in your mind is so refreshing. So refreshing. That's one of the best things that's come out of hot yoga for me, or just yoga and meditating, is doing something really challenging. And when you do hot yoga, first you have the element of heat that breaks your whole person down through sweat. You should see how freaking much I sweat. It's disgusting. It could fill an ocean. I could easily fill an ocean. Maybe a smaller one like the Indian Ocean. And which makes you tired and dehydrated and dizzy and confused. And then you're doing the physical stuff, the physical movements, the stretching and the poses, the postures, the flows. That makes it even harder. And then at the end, they ask you to relax. And when you're tired, you pant and you're uneasy. There's a word that they use. You become you just become uneasy and you are squirming. You squirm a lot when you're uneasy and you're uncomfortable, but they'd say relax. The last pose is called Savasana. Savasana. And it's just laying down on your back and being completely still. And that's one of the hardest poses for people. In fact, after all of hot yoga, a lot of people, they say, "All right, stay here for at least 5 minutes. Be here in your thoughts, meditate. Namaste." And then everyone says namaste, and maybe half of the class gets up and leaves immediately because it's so uncomfortable. It's so hot. It's so hot and you're so tired, and it's so hard to sit there and meditate. But I've learned that by being present in that moment, by choosing to stay and continue to suffer not even just physically anymore. Now I'm suffering mentally because I'm tired, I'm thirsty, and I'm dizzy, and I'm all this uncomfortable stuff. And then I have to think about all of my thoughts. I just lay there and it feels so uncomfortable. But I've learned meditating in my thoughts, in all my thoughts, it exposes who I am. I learn who I am from myself. I let my thoughts they churn, and I recognize them. And when I'm tired, especially, I get to see all of my weaknesses. I feel all of my weaknesses. And then I start to get like dreamy thoughts, like a falling asleep dreamies. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to get out of here. I'll lay down for 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes after hot yoga. And then I go and write all my thoughts down. That's when I feel the best writing. All of my demons are fresh on my mind. But that has given me so much clarity on the world and all of this shit. All of this shit comes out in my thoughts while I'm meditating. How I am contributing to this global warming crisis, this unsustainable world function economy that we have with food and with entertainment. I think about that. Then I think about how I suck at a lot of aspects in my life. I suck at work sometimes. I suck at my relationships sometimes. And those feelings and those thoughts are so uncomfortable. But that's a part of Misogi too. It's so hard to sit in your thoughts after you're so tired. And then you're doing it at 6 a.m. I mean, come on. It's really hard. So that's part one. That's Misogi. a lot of thoughts coming out that aren't related to the book, but that's what these books are for, and this podcast. Please excuse me. That was not supposed to happen. Oh, I'm so embarrassed that I just did that. Not really. I had a thought at the end of this part 1. I said, rites of passage have basically been done away with. I suppose the modern world gets to choose how we suffer. So what kind of suffering is good for us and what is not? It's an excellent question. Have I talked about that enough already? We get to choose our own suffering. Yeah, and then sometimes we choose not to suffer. Like I almost chose. Actually, I did. I chose to stay in bed this morning, and then I eventually chose to get out, and I lost half of my workout time, and I was late to the podcast. But I did end up getting out. There was a win. I lost that I didn't get out of bed on time, but I won that I got out of bed to go do that before I did this. Okay. Part 2. Rediscover boredom. Boredom has been killed by social media on the internet. Quote, boredom is neither good or bad. It's how we respond to boredom. Then my thoughts. If our brains have only 2 modes, focused and unfocused modes, then when we mindlessly scroll social media, is that effectively the same as daydreaming? Oh, here's the thought. Yeah, I remember this. If your scrolling isn't meaningful, are you not basically daydreaming with an object you're looking at? Yeah, the thought is we're bored, and when people were bored before there was the internet, they either sat around and looked at the trees and their fucking families and the things in their house, and just let their thoughts run wild, right? Or they tried to distract themselves by doing something. And I think now when people are bored today, instinctively we pull out our phones, we find social media, or we find games on our phones, or we play video games, or we turn the TV on. It's all mindless stuff to fill the void of boredom, because no one wants to be bored, because that's something that's inherent in all of us as humans. No one wants to be bored. In fact, I think some animals feel this way. I think dogs are probably bored a lot of the fucking time, which is why they can be so goofy sometimes, because no one wants to be bored. They want to do fun stuff. Everyone wants to do fun stuff, wants to be occupied. So we've removed this element of boredom as humans, pretty much, by creating tons of distractions that are not natural. So my thought was, if we are pulling out our phones and just scrolling to fill the boredom void, are we not effectively daydreaming with this? To be actively engaged in social media probably means you're looking for something or participating in something, but how much of social media is just looking to see what's next, and what are they doing? And this person's doing this, and then, none of it's productive. You're basically daydreaming, but you're doing it with an object in your mind. And I don't say that like it's a positive thing. I think it's a negative thing. I think there's more that comes out of daydreaming without distractions than with it. Just like meditating in a hot yoga room with your eyes closed and it's hot is more of me and my thoughts rather than the distraction. So maybe it's not daydreaming. Maybe it's a distraction from daydreaming. Maybe daydreaming is the positive and social media distracts us from daydreaming. That's my thought. I'm going to stick to that. Boredom doesn't make you creative. It's the push for you to do something. Anything to not be bored. So you can use boredom inappropriately. Yeah. You become bored and you fill that void either by meditating and reflecting on your day, or picking up a new hobby, or picking up an old hobby, or you completely distract yourself with unmeaningful, unproductive things like social media, TV, whatever, food. How many people I eat when I'm bored all the time because it's something to do. The key to improving productivity is to embrace boredom, or at the least stop constantly seeking entertainment. Okay, and I've seen this manifest in my life. Okay, then let me tell you how. and it's just an experience that I've had. I went off social media a while ago and have kind of let TikTok creep back in and out and in and out, and then it came back and it stayed. And I've had TikTok back on my phone for I don't know a couple months, and how easy TikTok is the ultimate example of just quick stimuli when you're bored or when there's downtime. Oh, I'm just stretching my arms forward and it feels so good. Oh, my shoulders. Oh, TikTok's the easiest one. It's easier than turning on. When you turn on the TV, you still got to find a channel to watch or a show on Netflix, and then you get to go. But then you still got 30 minutes of one kind of entertainment. But TikTok is 60 seconds of something new, and then 60 seconds of something else, and then something else, and then something else, and this, and this, and this, and something else, and something else. Stimulating, stimulating, stimulating. I think that's why short TV shows are so popular, why TikTok is so popular. These more popular than movies, I am just guessing, because it's just hit after hit after hit of something. Probably why snacking on small foods like chips is so delicious, because it's just a hit of something really yummy, a hit and a hit and a hit. And why porn is such a good alternative to sex, because it's a hit of you get one video of something and then another video and then another picture and a picture and a picture, and you get all of this. He talks about this too. There's so much, or maybe someone else does. I can't remember where I heard this. But porn is so popular because, I think it was the Hunter-Gatherers book. I'm going to go back to our ancestors. They probably only saw like 25 people ever in their whole lives, a lot of these early tribes. And now we can see more naked people in 5 minutes, in 60 seconds on our phones, more naked people than our ancestors ever saw in their entire lives. So it's stimulating to see naked person, blah 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 blah. Unless you're not into it, then that's fine. But this is just the point. This is why porn is so addictive. Is there's so much stimuli. Food, there's so much stimuli. All right. Geez, we're 50 minutes in, and I'm only in part 2. I gotta stop going off my tangents. So my story. I had TikTok. I got it back. Insanely consuming, just like everybody else knows. TikTok is insanely consuming. And it was starting to damage my relationship, and I noticed my productivity coming home from work was going down. I was becoming distracted at work again, which is a major reason why I deleted it in the first place. So I deleted it again. It's just a distraction. It's such a distraction from everything that's happening right now. It's a distraction from your current work. It's a distraction from your relationships, your intimate relationships, your friendships. Even video games is not an excellent distraction, or it's not an excellent mode of use of your time for productivity's sake. But when I have friends, when I'm playing video games with my friends online, it's a social bonding thing for sure, because we can talk to each other. We can't see each other. It's not perfect, but it's better than playing by yourself mindlessly for hours. It's very social and a lot of laughing. Anyway, even playing video games in between games or just kind of downtime. Yeah, if you play video games between games. TikTok. Even scrolling on TikTok then is incredibly distracting. And then you're missing out on and they're like, what's Caden doing? Is he on TikTok? Why? I mean, he's not focused on the games or whatever. I'm exhausting myself, but that's the point. The key to improving productivity is to embrace boredom. Embrace boredom. Chapter 12, Modern Medicine Treats Symptoms, Not Causes. Well, this is a completely different turn. We're still in the boredom part. Okay. A 20-minute walk in nature 3 times a week with no cell phone or music drops cortisol levels, stress hormones that I learned because I read books, and induces a sort of mindful walking meditation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I was referring to earlier. When I didn't finish the book before Thanksgiving, and so but I had read this part by then, and after Thanksgiving on Friday, I, instead of waking up and going to the gym and being distracted by music and exercise, I decided to go on a walk. I took no phone, I took no music, and there's a trail that runs close to my home that goes along a river and lots of trees. It's really pretty. I forget what they call it. And I ended up walking for an hour, and I was just in my thoughts. It felt great. It was cold, but I had my coat because of the comforts that we didn't get to. I'm fortunate enough to enjoy. It was pretty much like a hike, level hike. I walked on the gravel instead of on the asphalt to imitate a hike, and yeah, it was so peaceful. And then I came and I didn't finish the book, or I didn't listen to the book the whole time for an hour. I was just meditating in my thoughts, and then I came home. I love having this time off. I came home and I turned my book on my speaker, and I had my physical copy, and I was following along, and I was so attentive to the book. Oh, it was just great. It was great. So yeah, so anyway, if you're stressed, a 20-minute walk in nature at least 3 times a week is known to drop your cortisol levels, to decrease stress. It's a fact. From science, from scientists that do this. And then chapter 13, darkness, silence, and working to exhaustion was how our ancestors got good rest, especially in uncomfortable places. Cool. That's a great note. Part 3, feel hunger. And how much longer do I want to keep going? Because I got 3 more parts to discuss, but it's all good stuff. I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on the book. Forgive me for my tangents. But also, that's why we come here. That's why we do this. This is me digging through my thoughts and talking through them to understand them, and then I get to agree or disagree with myself. All right. Hunger has been essential for surviving evolution. Hunger is not the enemy. What we do when we are hungry is here's a fact. Only 3% of people who lose weight every year keep it off. 3%. 3% of people who lose weight every year keep it off. So, okay, this is a common theme. Hunger is not the enemy to hunger is not our enemy. How we react to hunger is. Boredom is not our enemy. How we react to boredom is. So he talks about processed food in this section, which is awesome. I think there's a stigma around processed food, and I've always confused processed food with junk food. But and by the way, I should say a lot of these comments come from interviews that he's had with other people, with experts in these fields. It's not just him BSing. It's these other. I just don't list the interviews or the people that do the work, the research. I just talk about the points. So, processed food is a modern day phenomenon because food always spoiled in the past, and our ancestors never knew when they were going to get food. And when they learned how to process food, it started saving lots of lives. One reason why, and this also comes from the hunter-gatherers book, our ancestors learned how to make cheese because cheese comes from milk, and milk is such a nutrient-dense form of food. They learned how to make cheese to preserve milk. They learned how to make beer to preserve the nutrients from wheat and barley, because bread, which makes bread, such a nutrient-dense food as well. It's a carb and calorie-rich food. They learned how to make beer so that it lasted longer, because you just never knew when you were going to get food as a primal human. So these innovations led to excess food, lots of cheese, lots of beer, and so whatever. So processed food, and that's all processed food. It's part of processed food, but maybe it's not even related. But it's the same concept. Humans are just trying to innovate, to learn, and to make food available longer and more nutrient dense and packed. So food is processed for three main points: to keep it safe, to be able to transport it, and to maintain texture, flavor, and nutrient profile. Processed food is not always junk food, but junk food is almost always processed. So don't confuse the two. Processed food is a modern day phenomenon, and we should be grateful for it, and we should not abuse it. Junk food is an abuse of processed food and of just food in general. Junk food's not good for you, but processed food can be, and processed food has saved lots of lives. Real hunger in the here's another statistic. Real hunger in the U.S. drives only 20% of eating. 20%. 20% of all eating is driven by real hunger. The rest is stress or comfort food, or just because it's time to eat. Develop calorie negative habits to deal with stress and boredom. Like, instead of binging food when you're bored or when you're stressed, develop calorie negative habits like exercising or healthier snacks or whatever. Practical takeaways for what you should eat: unprocessed whole grains and tubers, fruits and veggies, and lowish fat animal protein. Unprocessed whole grains are grains that must be cooked in water before edible, like quinoa or rice. So, yeah, this is a nutritionist's guide from the book. Unprocessed whole grains and tubers, fruits and veggies, and lowish. This not necessarily primal foods, because if you do a paleo diet, I did the paleo diet. You're not supposed to eat bread or rice because they're grains that are processed. But the nutritionist, he says people should be able to eat whatever the fuck they want, because if you tell them they can't eat certain foods, they'll resent you and they'll resent their diet, and they usually won't see any improvements. And the truth of the matter is, people who are trying to lose weight, the only thing they need to really keep in mind is eating fewer calories than they burn. That's the staple to losing weight. And counting macros is important, and measuring all of the numbers when you're trying to lose weight is important. But the number one thing: eat fewer calories than you burn. And so you learn that way that some foods contain more calories per pound than others. And the example that the nutritionist uses is pizza is so calorie rich, but per pound, but you can't eat as much pizza than you can potatoes or even chicken or fish. So you can eat more chicken and fish that provide fewer calories. You feel more full, and your body burns its resources quicker, and your body loses weight. So it's just whatever. This is 101. Okay, yeah. And he mentions food is more than a vehicle for energy. It resembles identity and culture. No food should be off limits. Here's a thought I had. If hunger and being cold or being too hot or loneliness suck, and we have developed new ways of coping with these things, why are they so bad for us? Why are these coping strategies so bad for us? And why would we try to neglect them and induce our own suffering? Why not binge to fill the void of suffering? Why not engage in constant stimulus? Why are we trying to impress by experiencing real suffering? Impress was not the right word. I don't know what I was. Who are we trying to impress by experiencing real suffering? Good question. And then the answer I wrote was later on: perhaps the answer is embracing this kind of suffering creates more pleasant people to be with. Tougher people makes for easier times. So those are good questions. I'm not going to expand. I'm talking about all that a ton already. Part 4: think about your death every day. Does this sound familiar? The Stoics call it memento mori, and Buddhism, I don't know if Buddhism has a phrase for it, but Buddhism does the same thing. Think about your death. To the Bhutanese, who are considered the happiest people on the planet, economic success is not an end, but a means to a more important end: happiness. Bhutan is a country northeast of India, I believe, if I remember right. And they're claimed to be the happiest people on the planet, but they're also not the wealthiest. In fact, I don't even think they're close to the wealthiest. They may even be impoverished. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure because I haven't studied it. But from the research and from this book that I've done, they're not wealthy, but they're the happiest. Okay, chapter 17. Happiness increases when basic needs are met. Food, house. Oh, yeah, basic needs are met. Houses and cars and clothes and food. Bigger houses and nicer cars don't result in more happiness. In fact, happiness may even decline in this pursuit. To be mindful partly means to neglect the drive to achieve and obtain bigger and better, and to accept things as they come and as they are. Happy people meditate on and celebrate death. Death culture in America tends to avoid the subject. Utah death culture is a little weird too because we're Mormons. Our idea of death and afterlife is different than a lot of places. Happy people meditate on and celebrate death. Death is universal. What do they say? The only two things you can be certain of are death and taxes. Death is unavoidable. It comes for us all, and yet a lot of people fear it. So the Stoics say the best way to avoid the fear of death or to overcome your fear of death is to meditate on it, to think of it. And the Bhutanese, his experience, this reason Bhutan is brought up in this book is because he went to Bhutan to interview a Buddhist monk or the Lama of Bhutan, and they do the same. They meditate on their death, and they celebrate death, and they're aware of it. And this awareness changes your attitude of life. When you accept the fact that you will die and everyone that you know will die, your perspective on life changes. Instead of it's right here. Meditating on your death awakens you to what is important, not the American dream checklist, like getting accepted to a college, getting a job, getting a wife, a car, a house, etc. Death can come at any time. So when you accept death as a natural part of life, the things that become most important to you change. And I've seen this has happened to me. Sorry, I'm doing a big stretch. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, jeez. Feels good. Death will come for us all. So, I've seen this happen. I've felt my mind, my attitude shift on the subject, on my own goals, my dreams, what I want to achieve in my life. I've always wanted to be rich. I've thought about what it would be like to be famous, and chasing those things are hard because they hardly come for everyone. It doesn't happen to everyone, rich or famous, but they seem so glamorous, and seems like life is so much better when you're rich and famous. And maybe I've accepted the fact that I might not be rich or famous, which is why my attitude has changed. But be that as it may, accepting death as a part of life means even the rich and famous people are going to die, and they still suffer. Their suffering is just different than mine and from yours. So my goals have changed from being rich and famous really to being happy, to enjoying each minute of my time while I'm alive. Because what's the point of rich and famous if you're not happy? So happiness is the goal. And not necessarily comfort. Comfort's not the goal, but happiness. And comfort does not equal happiness, or vice versa. Comfort is the idea of comfort. Like I said earlier, it's strange to me that we strive so hard to innovate to make life comfortable, because and then the suffering that comes from being comfortable. What am I trying to say? We want to be comfortable because it sucks to be bored, and it sucks to be hungry, and it sucks to be exposed to the elements. It sucks. There's no getting around it. It sucks to exercise every day. It sucks to get up early. It sucks to go to bed early. It sucks to turn the TV off after a reasonable amount of time, to turn the video games off, to delete. It sucks to delete social media, because these are all comfortable things. It sucks to portion your food. It sucks to portion your drink, your alcohol consumption, or just to remove it. It sucks, because all of these things feel good. So why do we do it? Really, why do we do it? And I think it's because humans are happier by moderating all of these things. Moderating how much food and alcohol we consume, moderating how much entertainment we consume versus boredom we experience. We shouldn't be bored 100% of the time. We shouldn't neglect all entertainment, but we shouldn't consume only entertainment either. We should learn how to be comfortable being bored, and then we should know when it's appropriate to experience this stimuli. Yeah. It's like optimizing your happiness. Yeah, it's all becoming optimal with in our decision making, optimizing our decision making to become the best person we can be. All right. So the last point from this part is the mind is afflicted with 3 illusions: greed, anger, ignorance. Greed, anger, ignorance. Overcoming these 3 things leads to increased happiness. And I'll read the subtitle for the book one more time. Embrace discomfort to reclaim your wild, happy, healthy self. Wild, happy, healthy, by embracing discomfort. I mean, anyone who's ever been camping knows that sleeping in a tent or on a cot or on the floor and sitting around a fire when it's freezing outside is not as comfortable as sleeping in a nice warm bed or being inside of a house and sitting on your couch. And a lot of people hate camping for that reason. And I think that's because they are not embracing the discomfort. They resent the discomfort, and they crave their stimuli and their comforts. But real happiness, I think real meaningful happiness comes from embracing the hard times and becoming a better person from them. I think that's the point. Let's talk about the last part. Part 5. Carry the load. This is all about exercise. And I'll be really brief. Maybe I won't even read these points, but the whole part of the book, a part of this whole part is the best kinds of exercise to, again, optimize our happiness and our physical well-being is to imitate the behaviors that our ancestors made. Our bodies are designed the way they are for specific reasons. Humans have evolved to cover lots of land over a long period of time without burning out from exhaustion, and then learning and then being able to carry heavy things. And the explanation is hunting back in the day required humans to stalk their prey for over a lot of miles, 10, 15 miles. I think humans are the slowest animals on foot, running and sprinting. Even, have you ever chased a small dog around? Small dogs are fucking fast. But humans have evolved to to sweat and cool yourself, and to distribute your breathing with your exercise, so you can do both at the same time. And so humans historically have chased their prey over lots of miles until their prey would fall over from exhaustion or heat stroke or heat exhaustion, in which they would be killed, and then humans had to carry the food back to camp. That's how we've evolved. And that's how our bodies are designed. So optimal exercise from part 5 is carrying. The most primal exercise is carrying and hiking. Physical discomfort brings physical and mental strength. Oh, I liked this point, though. Exercise-induced fatigue is more of a protective emotion than it is a representation of our physical capabilities. Just like, that protective emotion is very overwhelming, but it's not our wall. When you're doing some high intense cardio shit or lifting really heavy, is a little different because you only have so much muscle, but your physical endurance, your cardiovascular, the fatigue usually is an emotional response to the stimuli telling your body to stop because you're fucking tired or you're running out of resources. But humans are usually capable of pushing yourself far beyond your limits. That goes back to Misogi. So, comfort calcifies our natural movements and strengths. Comfort calcifies our natural movements and strengths. There you go. So a lot of my like this morning, my exercise included carrying 2 60-pound kettlebells up and down stairs, and flipping. This gym has a tire, like a big tractor tire, but it's on a machine that just goes back and forth, so it's in one place. But yeah, imitating a tire flip, and man, you talk about farmer boys' strength. There's a reason farmer boys are very strong. It's because the work they do is all primal, carrying and throwing and lifting. There's no bench pressing in the natural world, and there was, I think, Mark Sisson from the book a long time ago talked about I recently looked into this again. The 4 natural movements that humans make are hanging, being able to, hang from a branch or a bar, push-ups, squats, and stepping, like lunges. I think those were the 4. I could be wrong. And carrying and doing all of those things while carrying something. So, all right. That's part 5. In the epilogue, he talks about his experience in the Alaska, and he makes some other notes. Talks about how our sanitation obsession is one of the leading causes to colon maladies such as Crohn's, colitis, colon cancer, by constantly washing and sanitizing our food, water, and hands. Most microorganisms are benign, and some are beneficial to our gut microbiome. So we've become soft. Well, we're destroying our gut by constantly sanitizing everything, because humans never washed their hands. They rarely bathed or washed. They wore some clothes, if any. They rolled around in the dirt all the time. We're exposed to tons of bacteria all the time, and most of them are beneficial. They're either benign or beneficial, most of them. But again, humans died all the time back in the day. Humans died all the time. But they weren't dying from what we die from now. They were dying from bears and lions and tigers eating them. They weren't dying from colon cancer as often, or from Crohn's or colitis or whatever, or from depression. Life was just different. Life was way different. Now we deal with a whole bunch of other problems. Hey, look who decided to show up. Mashed potatoes. Oh my gosh, I keep missing this. My streak is ended. That's okay, bro. Hey, that's okay. You're still my number one. You're still the only one that at least chats in the chat every week from all of our friends. The book. Hey, just so you're aware, I'm done. I'm. These are my final thoughts. The book that I did today, The Comfort Crisis, by Michael Easter, who I made a funny joke earlier. I called him a fuckboy from Las Vegas because he's just this handsome columnist for Men's Health. He's a very handsome fella. I thought it was a funny joke. No one was here to laugh at it. My last thought is fill your time with more misogi. Line your scrapbook of life with many challenging experiences to slow the years down and give more stories to tell. So, yeah, experience more misogi. Go do more challenging things. One thing, and I'll say this now before to keep myself accountable. One thing I really want to do next year is I want to go on an awesome hunting trip. I want to get into hunting for a lot of reasons. I want to get into hunting for the connection to nature and connection to other animals. I want to do that for the physical challenge, hiking up and down mountains with heavy gear, and I want to hunt for my food for a couple reasons. You get better, higher quality meat, and you are contributing to the solution for what's the factory farming meat and animals. Hunting for your own game is a sustainable form of eating meat. It's cleaner meat. Everyone that I've ever, Michael Easter, when he went on this Alaska trip, he talks about his experience shooting a caribou, and this that experience of hunting and the connection with an animal that provides life for you, provides. When he says he looks at a dead animal, he hunted the animal, carried it out, went home and got the meat delivered from his butcher sometime later. He looked at the meat and knew where it came from and felt this peace knowing where that it's he hunted it. He knows where it came from, and now he has this respect for meat. When he looks at cheeseburgers from McDonald's, he doesn't know where the meat comes from and doesn't have the same reverence for it. He hasn't respected meat the same as before. Joe Rogan talks about the same thing, talking about hunting some kind of deer in Wyoming, I think, or Montana. And the first time he hunted, he says, "I'm either going to only hunt my meat for the rest of my life, or I'm going to become a vegetarian, because this is the only way to contribute to a positive change, because that's how humans have always gotten their meat, their food. Sometimes it was their only food, and the meat that comes from big game is more nutritious than from what I understand, from almost any other kinds of meat. So that's why carnivore diets are so popular, because there's so many nutrients in red meat especially, and then elk and caribou and those big game they're just like super animals, super creatures, big and strong and lean. So that's my misogi. I'm gonna prepare for a hunting trip next year. So give yourself opportunities for more misogi. More misogi. That's another reason why I love the Spartan races so much. These Spartan racers are so fucking challenging, but I love the challenge that comes with training for and performing the races. Training for the races is probably harder than the race itself, because you got to do more than what the race is requiring to perform well at the race. I talked to a guy from my yoga classes who has done tons of Spartans and tons of other races, and he talks about Xterra triathlons, which is just insane, running running half a marathon, I think, or and then biking 50 miles, swimming a mile, all in the wilderness, just hard shit. And training for stuff like you training for that is so hard, and then doing it is so hard. But it's Misogi, baby. Do more Misogi. Hayden, go back to the beginning to hear what Misogi is, or you can Google it. Misogi. If you don't already know, I didn't know what it was when he talks about it in the book. That's it. I can't go for 30 more minutes. I gotta go to work. I gotta start cleaning carpets. I gotta get back in the groove after a long ass weekend. But thanks for showing up. I'm sure you've got plenty of work to do yourself, but you still show up and say hello, and that's all that I ask for. Like I said at the beginning, if you listen to this podcast not on Mondays, then suit yourself. I'm glad that you enjoy it, and I hope this content brings you motivation and inspiration, changes your perspective to be a better person a little bit, hopefully. That's what I'm trying to do. That's all anybody can do anyway. So but like I said, I do it live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Mondays. And I invite everyone to join me for dialogue. Usually mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes is here. But hey, sometimes you mute me in the Discord, and maybe you just mute me in life sometimes, and I totally understand. It is what it is. Just kidding. I know you got stuff to do, so I'm not worried. Go do something hard. Every day, do something challenging. But plan on doing some misogi every now and then. Give yourself experiences to fill the scrapbook of your life, to tell more stories. I mean, I don't want to talk anymore about it. I'm gonna end it right there. That's where we're gonna end it. We're going into December. It's Christmas time. We're gonna have. I want to write, or I want to read a Christmas book, but maybe not. Probably not. As far as I know, I'm gonna be here every Monday. Let me look at the calendar. What does December look like? Christmas is on Saturday, the 25th. So I should be here the 20th and the 27th. No, say it. What was I saying? About our ancestors? Yeah, our ancestors. Say what you're going to say. Yeah, okay, something about our ancestors? About doing hard shit? Yeah, telling stories. You ever watch The Revenant? That's not super far ancient ancestors, but that guy, he was just a trapper and got attacked by a bear, and that's a pretty extraordinary event. But I think shit like that happened a lot of the time. Your house got destroyed in the latest windstorm, or a bear ate all of your food, and you just experienced hard shit all the time, and you figured it out because you had to survive, and it made you really tough. And then when you did, either you figured it out and you had an amazing story to tell, or you didn't and you died. But we don't have those. All of that crap happening to us all the time anymore. I think a traumatic thing that happens every day is car accidents. And car accidents aren't things. It's like, what do you learn from a car accident? You learn not to text and drive, or to be more aware, or to not be drowsy or drunk when you're driving. But that doesn't come with any, there's no reward to rebuilding the reward to your house being destroyed in a windstorm is you rebuild your house, and that builds your character. But getting in if you're I don't know, your crops failed this year, you have barely any food, you got to go hunt for your food, or you survive through fasting and extra rest to conserve energy, and then you get more and then you hunt for more food. Like, there's a reward to that. I haven't seen The Revenant, but I have watched the bear attack scene on YouTube. That's the hardest scene of all time, I swear. Yeah, and isn't that the one where DiCaprio finally got his Emmy or his Grammy or whatever you get when you're an actor? Yeah, I think people got attacked by bears or by wolves or mountain lions, and they were just so tough back in the day. They you either killed the bear, killed the mountain lion, and you had a story to tell, or you're Bjorn from Vikings, and you move out into the wilderness and you just survive off of the land with nobody for a year, and you just become tough. You just become tough and gritty, but we don't do gritty things anymore. Like the grittiest thing I do is I train for these Spartan races in a air conditioned gym sometimes, and I'd go do hot yoga. Like, I don't do anything like that. David Goggins runs these ultra marathons. Cam Hanes runs these ultra marathons, but Cam Hanes does the ultra marathons and is a big game hunter, and he's probably the biggest or the most successful or the best big game hunter alive right now, one of them. And that he posts videos all the time of him hunting big game and then carrying out all of the meat. And in Comfort Crisis, he cut off the leg of a caribou. It's like 60 pounds, and everyone's got to carry a leg and the skin. You discard the organs. I don't know what dressing an animal is like, but you take the most important pieces of the things that you'll eat, and it's still like 300-400 pounds distributed between everyone in the group, and then you got to carry it out. So that's gritty. That's fucking gritty. That's what I want to experience, something gritty like that. I think it makes people better people. At least if you have it with the right intention. Like I said, people who hate camping are people that aren't eager to embrace the discomforts. And by avoiding discomfort, you become soft. And by becoming soft, I think you become a pain in everyone's ass. Yeah. Yeah, I admire people who work really hard. And working really hard by doing gritty shit like this, or just working hard in life, at school, in their relationships, with families. I have friends with babies. And that shit's hard. That shit's hard, having kids. I'm a single dude. I'm not a single dude. I'm not a married dude. I don't have kids. I have a girlfriend. We have no kids. We have a really comfortable house in a urban area with jobs and money to buy comfortable things. And we have all of the free time that comes from not having kids. We don't even have pets. We don't do anything. We work and we take care of ourselves, and it's really easy. But even just having kids is a challenge enough to make someone tough. And if you take the challenge on if you embrace that discomfort, if you embrace the discomfort of having kids, of having pets, of owning a business, of just all of these challenges, yeah, you become a tougher, grittier person. I admire those people. That's it. That's where I'm ending it now. I was going to end it 10 minutes ago, but there you go. I gave you 10 minutes of good. I think that might have been better than the last hour, actually, that 10 minutes. So, moral of the story, go watch The Revenant if you want to learn about grittiness, or read this book, The Comfort Crisis. Embrace discomforts to reclaim your wild, happy, healthy self, by Michael Easter. And go do something hard. I don't think having kids was gritty, but now I feel better about myself. Thanks for the extra 10. Yeah, well, having kids is a very pleasurable experience, but taking care of them for 18 years, it's just, like actually taking care of kids. Okay, maybe gritty is not the right word, but to do it responsibly is not. At least, I'm selfish enough. I'll admit my selfishness that I'm not willing or able right now to to dedicate a lot of my time to having a kid. And maybe that would change if I had a kid. If I had a kid, I'm sure I would buckle down. But I enjoyed the selfishness of not having kids or pets or not being married. Honestly, that's a selfish thing to admit, but I'll admit it. And eventually I want to do all of that, but Right now I read books and I do yoga. So, till next time, next week we'll be here. It's definitely hard, but it's hashtag worth it. I know, I believe you. I 100% believe you. And sometimes I do get baby hungry, but then that fades fast. That fades fast. Hey, let's play more pickleball this week. It's supposed to warm up a little bit, like high 50s, low 60s, I think. High 50s. Oh, no, it's still low 50s. But it's not freezing, and it's sunny. So let's play pickleball. Let's see if we can get a group to do it. All right. Have a good week. It's an hour and a half. A little longer than I want, but still always a good time. I've been doing this a lot lately, and this is probably the last time I'll do this. A rock on sign. I'm not doing that anymore. All right. Take it easy, everybody.
They